Hello and welcome to the 13th installment of the Heroes Journal podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Kyle.
And we are the co-hosts of the Heroes Journal and the co-founders of the Heroes Journal. And we are really, really excited to be talking today.
Today's like it's interesting, right? Like today's like the end of a season of like a sitcom. It's not the end of a series, but it's the end of a season, right? There's a lot of reflection to do.
This is the 9th episode of a 10 episode season. And so this is the episode where everything is getting built up. Everything's coming. You know, it's like that everyone's binge watching it and they're like, oh man, I have to watch the next episode now.
Yeah. And they want to see the next episode so bad, but it hasn't happened yet.
I mean, so do we.
Right? That's true.
It's Thursday today. The podcast will come out on this Saturday, which is like the 14th?
The 13th. The 14th and the 15th and the 16th.
Because we're launching the 16th, which is Tuesday. Oh, yeah, because it's Thursday. I keep thinking it's Friday, but
feels like a Friday.
It does feel like a Friday. But yeah. How do you feel?
I'm a little stressed out, if I'm being honest. Yeah. Like I feel it in my bones. You know, it's one of those things where like my headspace is pretty clear. I feel pretty like logically, I feel pretty aware of like the really great things that are happening, but like my body's tight.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if that makes any sense.
Makes sense.
Like there's a level of like a lot of the things are done. We've completed most of the projects aside from actually launching the Kickstarter. So my head's clear of that, but like the tension is still building inside my being. Yeah,
there isn't enough time between now and then to really do anything. Like the work that we have put in for the last like 6 months or however long it's taken to get here is pretty, like, the time's out. You can do a few things here and there, maybe you send a couple emails, but you're not gonna get some huge difference. You know, like the daily inputs that have gone into this moment are what they are. Yeah. And we just kind of have to kind of live with it.
It's true.
And it does kind of leave you with this, like, I don't know. It's like I did all I could do, you know? You kind of hit that point. I was thinking about this. I was actually listening to old voice recordings of myself 2 years ago before the launch of the first Kickstarter. And I kept saying this. And I think we would say this to each other a lot. A couple years ago, we'd say, we've already learned so much that if we were to do this again, like we would do it differently, or it would take us like a quarter the amount of time that it took us to do it.
The exact same amount of time. Now, granted, I think it's better, obviously.
Yeah. Well, it's a pretty different scenario, but I realized that I was like, man, I'm really proud of myself because I think that this time around it is way better. Yeah. You know, like it's the LinkedIn quote, right? It's the I'm happily embarrassed of our first Kickstarter. I like that. Happily Embarrassed should be the name of this podcast.
The Happily Embarrassed podcast, as we reflect on how happily embarrassed we are of the previous things that we've done.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the biggest things that I think I'm excited about. I don't know if you feel this way, is the amount of people that have gone to our Kickstarter like teaser page. It's not even the version of our campaign.
Do you want a live update? You want a live number for the Kickstarter? Yeah,
we have so you can basically go to the teaser version of our Kickstarter. You can't see any of the campaign or the pricing or anything. All you see is like the default profile picture of the campaign, and then there's a little number that kind of marks the amount of, like, almost think of it like followers. Like there's people that can go to this little page and click, notify me when this thing launches. So that way they're kind of made aware when the Kickstarter goes live, and Kickstarter knows how much hype is kind of being built around this. This is something that we never did on our last Kickstarter.
We didn't even know it existed.
We didn't even know it existed, honestly, until probably about 2 weeks ago. So, we had like this big Facebook event that we had created that has about 1,000 people in it, that are like, marked as going and stuff. That's one thing. I'm really thankful for that group of people, but it doesn't necessarily lend itself to getting people into Kickstarter onto the platform, because when you click notifications, you have to create an account. And I've genuinely been very surprised by how many people have created an account and clicked notify me on Kickstarter.
As of February 11th at 11:18 a.m., which is the time of this recording, there are 654 followers.
Wow.
Which is more than double the amount of people who actually backed our entire Kickstarter the first time.
Yeah. That's almost triple the amount of people. That
which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, well, it puts us in a really cool position. Like, so we asked for the funding goal that we have is $25,000, right? And that's not nothing, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
To be transparent, though, if we only did $25,000 in the campaign, it would suck. Like, it'd be really hard to like do all the things we want to do going forward.
Yeah, it would. We would have razor thin margins.
Right.
It's the amount that we can get it done, but it's still razor thin.
Yeah, it's like we're not trying to be disingenuous by how much we asked for, because that's pretty much like, I don't want to say the break even point, but probably close.
Very close.
The whole goal with the Kickstarter is to kind of have a big wave, a big kind of like hype, like, look at this number. This is so crazy. Look at all these backers. Look at all the people that are backing these specific tier lists. It gives, like journalists something to write about. It gives the backers something to get excited about with like stretch goals and how kind of unique the experience is. So that's why we're doing Kickstarter, which I keep getting asked all the time. Because technically you wouldn't need to. You could just drop this on your website. And we've talked about ad nauseum kind of why we're doing it. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is we officially have enough people that have clicked notify me when this project backs on Kickstarter, 654 as of this recording, that if all they did was back the lowest tier on our offering, which I believe starts at $40.
Yes.
Then we would be funded.
Fully funded.
We would have 650 backers that only funded, only got a journal. We'd be fully funded. So that's like a really good feel. I mean, that's so like, that feels really good to me.
Yeah.
The insecurity of like, there's possible we don't get funded is feeling less and less of a possibility.
Yeah.
It's still there, but like it's kind of just dissipated with those numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak too broadly or too like with too much like grandeur. But I think the thing I'm the most proud of from where we've grown from before to like where we are now, is that when we launched our initial Kickstarter, it was maybe a group of 5 people that would have been sad, and then us, right? If we didn't get funded.
Yeah, right.
In the group of 5 people, they wouldn't be torn up about it. They'd be like, "Oh, it sucks," But us, we would have been obviously relatively. I mean, there would have been a level of relief as well. I mean, like I think that's a real that's like a real thing of holy cow, what I get myself into. As
the people running the campaign.
Yeah, like
there's a little bit of like okay, I kind of avoided that.
Yeah. Like
it's definitely a bummer, but
yeah, it's a bummer, but it's like, oh man, now I don't have to stay up. I don't have to get up at 5 a.m. and fulfill packages. Like, oh dang. But now, like, I genuinely think that we have a large community. Well, we have a larger team, right? We have 6 people that work that work very closely with us, and then we have a few more people that work a little bit less closely with us.
They live here. We pay their salaries. Like, there's more pressure.
Yeah.
Like it's not. Yeah.
Well, so it's not even from a financial standpoint, but we have more people who care about this thing.
Right.
And then we also have a community of people that want to see this thing come to life.
Right. Yeah, I feel a duty to make sure it happens.
Yeah. So people. it's this feeling that I've never felt before, where it's like I genuinely feel the rallying behind this thing.
Yeah.
People are like sending us emails, sending us messages. Like, I hope so badly you guys get backed. I'm very confident that we will get backed. But it's so cool to see that growth, to see the amount of people that care about this thing existing in the world,
right,
and who are willing to fight for it. You
know what's really cool about it? It actually becomes way less about us.
Way less.
I feel like in the first campaign, there was so much about like I have to prove to like these people that like I can do this, and it kind of makes sense. It's a smaller group of people. It's mostly friends and family. It's like you're kind of stepping out. It's embarrassing if it doesn't work. Like, but this time around, it's like it's less about Nick and Kyle, and it's even less about the Hero's Journal. It's more about people just being so excited about like this journal and being so excited to like be the hero of their story. I feel like this duty to like do the right thing and do this, like bring this thing into the world. So this is kind of the final, well, not the final, but it's one of the big hurdles to do that. I've been backing a lot of projects on Kickstarter recently.
Going crazy.
I got a funny comment. So I don't know if you saw this.
No.
There's this YouTube comment that was left on
I saw that. Yeah.
the Kickstarter one.
Yeah,
So we filmed the video of like literally me going onto Kickstarter, finding a project and backing it, just so like we could show people what that experience is like, because it's a little different than buying something. So I literally found a random like enamel pin campaign. It was like a Lord of the Rings theme. So it's like
the interest wasn't random to you, but you didn't know about it prior.
Exactly.
It's not random by just like it being what it is. Right?
And so this project wasn't funded yet. And it was like, they're only asking for like maybe $1,000. So it was a pretty small campaign. And so I went and I backed like the highest tier because I was really excited about it. I'm actually still super excited about it. And
like
since then they got fully funded.
Yeah.
But someone commented on that YouTube video and they're like, I'm really glad you made this. I'm familiar with Kickstarter, but I really want those enamel pins. So I went and backed the campaign as well.
And we did like free marketing for them.
All I'm saying is if you are watching this and you ran the Fellowship of the Ring enamel pin Kickstarter, you're welcome.
Yeah, it got you like $20.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was just like
it's super cool.
It's funny. And what I'm trying to get to is I also backed this like really big project, which was for Tolkien, who's like the author of Lord of the Rings. He has this estate on like the Oxford campus that some actors from the Lord of the Rings films and a nonprofit that they partnered with are trying to basically buy that estate and turn it into like a writer's haven / like museum for, Tolkien and all that stuff. And so I backed that, and like there's a couple days left, and I don't want to like speak too soon, but I don't think it's going to get funded. And they asked for like $600,000 because they're
trying to buy it.
They're trying to buy a house or whatever. But like they're only like a third of the way there. And I backed it a long time ago and I'm really surprised I didn't get backed. But like, I feel sad. Like I'm actually really sad about that. Cause like I wanted it to be a thing. And so it's interesting to be on the other side of it where it's like you are voting with your wallet because you're like, I want this thing in the world. I want it to be real. And then like, it just doesn't happen,
Yeah. This is something I feel, and I'm gonna like this is a moment of solidarity for everyone who's gonna back our Kickstarter. Plug February 16th, 2021,
9 a.m. PST.
The clocks, the alarm clock, the kind alarm clock.
Yeah.
Right? I'm bummed that it's not going to be here for a while. I'm thinking about it. And I'm like, because has their campaign closed? We got on it like very late. They had like 7 days left.
We went that late.
We weren't?
No, yeah, they had like 20 days left.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So yeah, they're like the whole 20 days left.
Yeah, we were one of the final early birds.
Oh, gotcha.
To get in there,
and then now we have to wait for them to get their money, them to make the clocks, and then for them to send it. It's going to be like 9 months. Yeah. We're gonna forget that we backed it, and obviously we hope to have for Kickstarter. I hope that we're like 99th percentile, top 1% of speed of like backing, like a fulfillment after backing.
Right.
But yeah, it's still like
the underrated part.
Yeah, it's gonna take a little bit of time, and people are like, I'm so excited for this. It's like we're shooting for June, which, I'm 100% aware is a complete moonshot. June is like that's to get everything perfectly sent out by June.
Yeah.
Is for Kickstarter.
I don't know if it's a moonshot.
It feels a little bit like a moonshot to me.
We wouldn't put it there if it was a moonshot. I think it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
And
I guess May would be a moonshot. June's like,
we've built an infrastructure that can handle unless it like blows up.
Yeah.
I think that's where sounds weird. That's what I'm mostly afraid of.
Yeah.
I was reading up on Coolest. They had a Kickstarter years ago. Huge. It was like cooler and it like had like a blender on it and like could charge your phone. It's a cool idea. One of the most successful campaigns of all time. Successful in big quotes. What happened was they were so back ordered with the amount of fulfillment they had to do that that's all they've been doing for years since their campaign closed. They weren't even selling them online. All they were doing was satisfying the demand that happened on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
What happened was when Trump got elected and got into office, some of the tariffs with China changed and it like messed up their entire margins. So they just had to go out of business. They just went out of business, like I was trying to find their campaign. I couldn't even find it. I think Kickstarter may have taken it off their platform. So it was like, it's like this weird thing It's like it's the weirdest fear about it, because you want your thing to be really successful. You want it to be way bigger than you even asked for, but like there's definitely a limit. Like you look at the top 10 Kickstarters of all time, over half of them failed. Like didn't deliver any products to anyone.
This is Operations Kyle. This is the way that I think about it, right?
Yeah.
So this is why Kickstarter could be dangerous in my head, as told by Kyle. Is because some of these products they get like $3-4 million on Kickstarter, huge campaigns, and they're selling like $500,000-$600,000 products, right? They're selling these really high end, really like specialty products. Yeah. So the problem is they blow up and they create an influx of orders that they can't sustain without taking 1, 2, or 3 years to completely fulfill all of these orders, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at what these companies can do, right? Like if you sell a $500 cooler or you do a good job marketing, like a $1 million, $2 million a year is extremely possible. It's almost kind of like the floor for a high ticket item like that.
Yeah.
So if you do a $3 million Kickstarter and you have more orders because you sold your item at a lower price than you would have because it's on Kickstarter versus on your store.
Yeah.
You now are trading $3 million, which would have been a good year, and you're expanding that over 3 years. So now you really just had 3 $1 million years, and you're not able to keep up with your expenses.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're actually trading way more to have this like level of virality.
Yeah.
And you're not getting a very good return on your investment.
Yeah. It's like eating a 5-course meal for breakfast.
Yeah.
And then not eating for 3 days after that.
It was funny. So one of our good friends, Pete, his fiance is a dietitian. And I texted Pete one day. I said, "Hey, ask Rachel if I ate 20,000 calories on Sunday, could I just not eat for the rest of the week?" And obviously she said no. So dumb. But I was just like, that's meal prep. That's the genuine. That's the most meal prepping I can think of. Like think about like that like end state. You're just like you just eat like crazy, like a king.
Awful
on Sundays. Obviously that's not how food works, but. It's that same idea, right? It's like, can I eat 20,000 calories? Can I have $3 million in 1 month in 2018? Right. And can I still be running in 2020? Probably not.
Yeah. Well, so that's the operation side, right? There's the whole marketing thing too, where you think about this, like however long a Kickstarter is, we'll say 1 month. You are in a way, in a very similar way, you're taking all of the buzz of your product and of your company and kind of shoving it into this campaign in 3 months. Which is great to attract, new orders and all that stuff. But like you will inevitably not want to market your product at all once you close because you have to fulfill these orders. It's going to take you years. Why would you start marketing new orders when you can't fulfill them for like years in advance? Yeah. It's like you lose the buzz of your company because you're basically trying to keep up with the promises you made yesterday. And you lose your buzz, because now all you're doing at that point is keeping your promise, right? Yeah. You're not going out and making new promises or like marketing new customers or getting into retail stores. You're not doing any of that. All you're trying to do is keep up with demand, which is like, it feels like success, but it's like thinly veiled, like a death sentence. Yeah. It's, I don't think it'll happen to us, but, well, I hope it doesn't happen to us. And if it does, I hope that we can figure out a way to make it work. Luckily, journals are easier to make than coolers.
It's true.
But
this is my analogy, and this is like a fitness analogy. I'm all over the board today, but it's like for the last 2 years, we've been doing full body workouts. Yeah. We've been doing legs. We've been doing upper body. We've built a very like sustainable body as the Heroes Journal. Right. Yeah. So our fulfillment and our infrastructure is robust enough that we can pop off a little bit and still be able to maintain it.
Yeah.
I honestly, we could even go very viral and we would still be able to within the year fulfill everything. Right. Yeah. That is very possible.
We'd have to make some moves, but yeah.
Yeah. It would be hard, but we'd be able to do it.
Probably have to get like a new warehouse and stuff. Like we're like here.
Yeah.
Demand, fulfillment. Yeah. Demand shoots high and fulfillment stays here.
Yeah.
We're gonna.
A lot of these, I would say, a lot of these top 10 Kickstarters, in my opinion, from a complete third party perspective, have been working out upper body for 3 years They built this really, really cool product, this very sexy product, and they ignored legs. So what they did was their upper body's up here, and it just like it's like the legs are curling underneath the pressure of this
lopsided.
Yeah, of this like sexy marketing side with no fulfillment. So I would say the thing that I'm proud of with what we've done is that we've made sure that the legs have grown with the upper body of the Heroes.
Yeah. It's true. It's like one of the most underrated parts of the Kickstarter is getting the thing.
Yeah.
As a backer. And like, sadly, like a lot of these successful campaigns have kind of hurt the reputation of crowdfunding. They've kind of hurt the reputation of, I think, what is otherwise a really cool thing. That's a very new age way to support a business. Like, Kickstarter's gotten a lot better about how they handle that, but yeah, you just never know.
Yeah. When I think about infrastructure, I actually think about Wormwood. We've been watching a lot of Wormwood. They're definitely like,
shout out to Wormwood. Guys, if you're watching and you're Wormwood or you watch Wormwood, you watch Worm Life on YouTube, give us some props. I want you to reach out and be like, hey, the Heroes Journal wants to work with you. You guys should collab.
It's true.
You guys would look really good together. You guys would do some cool stuff. Come on.
We're going to do our very first as a team D&D beer and pretzels campaign.
Yeah.
It's funny because I learned this term about 2 days before everyone else did, but beer and pretzels is just like a one-shot D&D campaign. It's supposed to be like a little bit more funny, a little more jovial, exciting, stuff like that. Yeah. But we are trying to get into the D&D world as a team to build that level of camaraderie, level of imagination.
Yeah.
We have a large group of D&D players that we interact with on a daily basis in our community. So we felt like it was the right thing to do. So we're going into that world, and obviously Wormwood being like this, they're very like high end. They care about the production quality of their dice. They created a dice vault. I was talking to Dean. He was like, I don't think a dice vault existed before Wormwood made the dice vault. So that like they were able to inject a level of like of newness into already like
some innovation.
They added innovation.
They added a new thing. Yeah, they do incredible work. I love how they've documented their journey.
My point. This is my point. Sorry, I completely got sidetracked. Is whether or not their fulfillment schedule is going how their backers thought they were.
Yeah,
they have such a level of transparency that you can't get mad at them, right? Because you see them like working day in, day out. They like got new manufacturing facilities. They bought new like machines, and you're watching this thing and you're living this thing with them. And they had a huge Kickstarter. They had one of the biggest Kickstarter ever.
They're transparently doing the best they can with what they have.
Exactly.
And it's hard to get mad, especially at a small company, when they're proving that that's what's going on.
Yeah.
They are like Kickstarter veterans. They've done so many Kickstarters. In fact, I think that they often will do kind of like overlapping Kickstarters to where like one closes, they'll be fulfilling, and then they'll launch another one like a couple, months later or whatever.
Because they've done this is what they've done well, and this is, I think, our next stage as a business. Because they're like 3 years older than us, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, I think they did their first Kickstarter in 2014 or 2015.
Okay. So they're like 3 or 4 years older than us. They are so good at making complementary products that don't impede on each other.
Yeah.
So as a consumer for myself, I can see one Kickstarter and back it, and I can see an overlapping Kickstarter and want to back that one too, and not be upset about the fact that they're getting me to pull my checkbook out twice.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because you want the table, you want the throne, you want the dice, you want the chair.
I think that's single-handedly one of the best D2C skills you can have as a business is finding ways to offer new and truly beneficial and valuable products without like stepping on the toes of your other products. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You find a persona. Actually, I don't know if you ever talked about this. Did you know? Because everyone talks about marketing personas like, oh, this is like, like Jim. He's Trader Joe's entire like business, marketing, store layout, everything is based on, I don't want to botch this. I think it's a 36-year-old substitute teacher who drives a Volvo.
Really?
Yeah. But it's like they have the model of the Volvo down. It's like so specific and they just have one persona and they build all their products. I believe that's right. I heard that on a podcast somewhere. So it's something like that.
Is that person the, for the sake of not having a better pronoun, the everyman?
Well, no, it's not
every person.
I think the reason that they get so specific on it is that they're trying to like genuinely be empathetic and viscerally put themselves in this hypothetical person's shoes. Like, okay, if I was in my like mid 30s and I drove this car and it broke down every month, and I'm like a substitute teacher, like I know what my salary is, I know what my responsibilities are. There's like a little bit of instability in my life. Like, so it's like Trader Joe's can kind of build solutions around those problems. And I think, to your point, I think that's what Wormwood has done a really good job of. I think that they've kind of found that persona. I don't know what it is, but they've kind of been like, okay, we're going to make, and that's where that term like complementary products is. It's like, they're not necessarily trying to be like, we're going to do like the journal, then the pin. It's more like, what problem does this persona have? Mm-hmm. And as we build these products, it will make a ton of sense for them to want to buy all of them from a trustworthy brand, because they're solving problems. They're not like, you've seen this, get the matching thing for this. It's like not really about that as much as I think getting so specific on a person and then solving a really specific problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so from a marketing persona, we had this conversation earlier this week, and I think it's something that we have done. We didn't realize that we did it until I at least it wasn't extremely clear to me until this week. The hard part about personas for us is that our goal is that every person sees themselves as a hero, right?
Yeah.
And
a lot of people have journals.
Yeah, a lot of different people, a lot of different types of people
have different types of journals.
Had different types of journals, right? Yeah. So this week we did a Valentine's Day bundle, and we posted the best picture that we had. Mm-hmm. We didn't think twice about like the connotations of the photo. It's two girls, two women, kissing, and it's a Valentine's Day bundle, and we got a ton of like positive comments.
It's like one of the most popular posts ever.
And I mean, like, if I had social media, I'm sure I may have gotten unfollows, but like you had that a little bit on your side.
Yeah. My personal Instagram.
But it's one of those things where seeing that response, both on the positive and the negative, made it so clear to me that that's exactly what we should be doing, because we want to represent every single person in every walk of life.
Yeah.
Regardless, right? So whenever it comes down to a civil rights issue, or it comes down to like even a discount. Our goal is to represent people and do the best thing for people. So it's regardless of like political individual beliefs on any particular item.
Yeah.
The hero's journal takes the stance with the hero.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I didn't realize we were building that when we were building it. Mm-hmm. Our goal is just to be kind to people and help people be the hero of their life. Yeah. But I'm so immensely proud of that factor of our business. And I've just been like, that's, I guess, if we're talking about thinking back for the 2 years. Yeah. That's, I think, the thing I'm the most proud of. Regardless of journals in hands, regardless of anything. I'm so glad that we were able to build a community and a product and a company that is based around representing everyone and helping everyone tell a better story about themselves.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that was an interesting thing, because it was on Monday, right? Or maybe, it was on Monday. We were kind of like, and we had that photo from like June. So it's just been sitting around for so long, and I kind of forgot about it. But I remember, so John is a photographer that we
have like 4 Johns.
I know.
John Sweet.
We work with a really great photographer from time to time. His name's John Sweet. He takes really cool lifestyle photos. All the lifestyle photos you see on our website are all him. So I think those were his neighbors.
Yeah.
I think he just went to his neighbors. They're married, two women together. And he's like, let's go into a forest and do a photo shoot back in June. So this is when we launched Wildwood Green. Mm-hmm. And there's some pictures of them like, being kind of cutesy and like kissing and stuff. And I remember thinking like, oh, this doesn't really work in June, but like we'll use this in Valentine's Day. That's like the only real opportunity to use a picture like this. Mm-hmm. And we just so happened to remember that we had that. And like you said, it wasn't even like oh, this is going to be so great with our demographic, or like, oh man, we're going to be so edgy. We're going to take a stance here. There wasn't even a thought in either direction about what it was. And you're right. That only comes from a couple of years of establishing a culture around doing the heroic thing, to where you don't even like think about it as like an opportunity to position yourself, or you don't even see it as like a risk. Like, as the organization grows, any organization, you will add more people, and those people will inevitably have different beliefs about the world and about like politically and, like religions and cultures, and like you mix them up, and you need that diversity of thought to make the best product.
Of course.
But like you need a standard, like a set of standards and values for the company that everyone, despite their personal beliefs, can kind of agree on, and things can fall under, and like things like social presence can fall into that, those values, and into that behavioral, like, this is how we talk, this is how we don't. A great example, like, I hate when people talk about it, but Wendy's on Twitter, right? Like they made an interesting value statement couple like years ago, where they're like, we're going to be really like ruthless on Twitter. We're going to be like really mean to people, kind of roast them, because that falls in line with our values, and falls in line with what our customers are like. And so that's like one of my favorite examples, because it's like, that's how we talk. I actually just bought this hat, Liquid Death. They're like a water company. They make mountain water. So like in a can, but they're branded like a heavy metal band. It's really interesting to me. And they talk to their customers like that, kind of just like grungy, but they're also a water company. So I just love that there's like these pointed stances that these like companies are taking that align with their values. And it's encouraging to know that I think we are starting to develop that in the background, because it's just something that naturally happened. And so yeah, it's like, it's probably something that will continue,
Yeah, and I think it's extremely important as we look back on, like, let's say in 2 years. Let's say we're looking back on our first 4 years, right? There's a scenario where we have people from different places in the United States. We could have like offices in different places, and like depending on how if it grows more and more, we could have fulfillment centers like located around the country. We could have a lot of these different things, which means you're gonna have a lot of different demographics of people. So you have to have this core understanding of who we're serving, and we're serving everyone, which is like I
mean, as time goes on, I think it becomes more obvious.
Of course, I mean, obviously personas from a marketing standpoint. But the goal of the company is that anyone can walk into the front doors of our brand and feel like they're heroic. Yeah.
It's like you can be appreciated for the hero that you are, with like your own talents and what you bring to the table. But like, as you come to the organization, like we have a standard of like, we are allies to the world. We're allies to each other. We're kind to the people we encounter. Like, put your ideological beliefs aside. When the company's talking. Right. Obviously you don't want to control how people think.
Of course.
That's like the worst way to manage, or the worst way to grow. But yeah, you have to have a standard. And I think that like, it feels good to know that was something that we agreed on. Not because we were like, oh, we all think this is a good idea, and this is what we all believe. It was just like, this is what our company, if our company was a person, this is what they would post.
Yes.
So
yeah, it's also like there's other little funny things, right? Like the fact that letters from the mentor are written by the mentor and are sent out by Zach. You know what I mean? It's like like we continue to push into these directions because it's like the right thing to do. And the mentor's voice is kind, and the mentor's voice is helpful. Like Zach from the Heroes Journal writes marketing emails that can be they can be funny sometimes, or they can be, it's just a different tone.
Super different.
But that's because it's from Zach at the Heroes Journal, who does marketing. Whereas if it's the mentor at the Heroes Journal, that person always is kind first, makes very different funny jokes. And those things can live in the same world. And I think that's like, it's fun for people it's fun for me, because I receive all the emails too, and I get to see like, oh, what's the tone of this one, and it allows for variety, and like it has a little bit of spice to it, which I think is fun.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, it's
Or even Nick and Kyle on this podcast, right? Like I think you said the S word last week, or you may have said it in a podcast, in a live stream or something like that.
Said the shit word.
You said the shit word. But yeah, like I don't think the mentor swears, right?
Yeah,
Whereas, but
right.
like Nick can swear, but the mentor doesn't.
Yeah.
Which I think is really important for whatever reason. I just, in my head, that makes so much sense.
Right.
And maybe in the comments, if you think we're wrong, we'd love to hear it. We're always open to feedback.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna talk to Bert for a second. Bert, are these in the shot? They are. We're just like showing off.
Oh, I mean, everyone's seen them. I hope you. If you're listening to this podcast, you've probably seen them.
But
Cauldron Gray, Mystic Blue, journals. These are the Story Magic Academy, or the IMA journals that we are dropping on Kickstarter on Tuesday.
Nick, let's we have about 15 minutes left. Let's talk a little bit about the growth of the actual journal. Right. Yeah. You're our product guru, our product paladin, as John would say. Let's talk a little bit about the things that the upgrades that we've made to the actual journal since the OG.
Oh yeah.
It's like I want to hear about how you feel about when you see those new upgrades and how you've seen this baby grow a little bit over the course of the last 2 years.
Well, there's been a lot of changes. I mean, we've also done a lot of iterations on our original, from our last Kickstarter. This is night and day.
Of course.
Like if you're just looking at our old first Kickstarter journal and this, it's like, I mean, it's wildly different. So, the major difference that I think customers will really enjoy, heroes will really enjoy, is that every single daily page, the art changes slightly. So Ryan did a really, really cool job where he kind of took the main characters of that scene, like whoever's kind of the focus is on, and kind of changes their faces, or like maybe moves them on the page or something like that. So you kind of can follow them along through these different daily pages as you turn. And that the effect that creates is that every single page is different. So there's something that you can look at that wasn't there yesterday and won't be there tomorrow on the page, which I love. And I think of it like a movie. It's like, in a weird way, I think we kind of stumbled upon a new medium of storytelling. I think of it like the slowest possible flip book you could ever think of. It's like slightly changing art on every page, and it takes a whole day to look at a page, and you can only really notice the differences if you're using it. Mm-hmm. But I think of it like a movie, right? Like you have two main characters talking, and then maybe you have like a group in the background that are talking. And those people might slightly move here and there, but they're not really doing much. They're still there to kind of furnish the setting, furnish the shot. They're part of creating that environment that the main characters are in. I think the audience still appreciates them being there, but I don't really care if they move, right? So that's something that I remember talking to Ryan that we realized, because he was thinking, I'm gonna have to move every single character in every single frame. And it was like, no, that's not even how we are used to like interpreting stories. Like we actually just look at the main character and what they're doing. And so Ryan did a really good job of kind of emphasizing the main characters moving every page. I got really carried away with that detail.
All right. So that is the story progression. Let's talk about the product specs. Let's talk about how it feels in your hands. What some things that are the same that you're proud of that we've done for 2 years, and maybe some things that are different.
Well, we're keeping the material on the cover mostly the same. So you still kind of have that linen, kind of sturdy cloth feel.
Still soft though.
The gray board is just as thick, or like the hard cover of it is just as thick as it was before. Like most of the aesthetics, I would say, are the same. We changed the logo to kind of fit within the same design family as the original journal, but this one has an updated logo to more represent the Magic Academy. So, and then same with the spine. There's a little wand there. We obviously did these new colors, Mystic Blue and Cauldron Gray, which I'm really excited. People have been asking for a blue journal forever. So this is a really good opportunity to do that. We went up in pages. So we had 240 pages at 100 GSM. We actually kind of auditioned a new journal to see if 120 GSM, even thicker pages, would be a cool option.
Way too thick.
It made the journal feel like a brick. Like it was just too hefty, and even flipping through the pages felt like going through note cards or something. So I'm glad that 100 GSM feels like the right move still, and I'm glad that we're still willing to try new things. We are going up in pages to 256 pages, just because there are more kind of reflection exercises in this journal.
is a difference in content, what you're excited about from that point?
Yeah, intro content is essentially the same, I would say, as our current journal. We have brand new art there.
It's beautiful. It's so cool. I think my favorite is the full day Once Upon a Time spread. We
also did include fields this time for refusal.
Yeah.
So there's some parts in there that are a little more interactive.
Yeah.
The really cool difference that I'm excited about is there's more reflections. So I believe in the current journal we have now, we have like 13, or maybe it's 9.
After every scene. Yeah, it's 9. So yeah.
So we have 9 different scenes. That means that the daily pages changes every like 13 days or something like that. Or 10 days. 10 days. Because 9 scenes, 90 pages,
Boom.
10 days.
Look at that. Look at us.
Now the scenes are only 7 days long, which means if you're someone that uses your journal every day, you will have a reflection section every single week, right? So the reflection sections are a lot more frequent, so there's a lot more of them. The questions in those reflection sections are a little more tapered to the actual story, which I'm excited about.
Aside from,
and then the act breaks,
yeah,
which are also a little different. So there's an act break after the first 3 scenes, and then there's one after 6 scenes.
Yeah.
And then the last 3 scenes. So there's a really long act 2. In those act sections, there's this thing that I'm really proud of. It's called self-study. So it fits that like academic school theme, but they're questions that are asked in the first person that cut through the story. They cut through all the, storytelling and stuff. And they just get kind of right to the core of like, why are you trying to make your life better? Why are you trying to improve and accomplish this goal? Kind of more like, kind of like cut and dry psychological questions just asked in the first person, hopefully to uncover a little bit more about your motivation and what's really helping you along the journey. So I'm excited for that kind of change in tone. There's also a few, like there's some newspapers that we made, like mock-up newspaper. There's a little yearbook in the back. There's a diploma in the back.
Yeah,
there's a bestiary in the back.
We have outro content.
Oh, we have the outro content. So, and I said this in our Kickstarter video, but like we've been talking about this for a long time. Every single other goal-setting journal that is like this, take out all the art of what we have, and it's basically just a goal journal. And there are thousands of these different types, but they all have like their own little spin on it and stuff like that. I think ours is the best, but they all do a really good job of like setting you up on a goal.
Yeah.
The truth is like setting up a goal is really like exciting and kind of easy. And it's easy to get someone motivated about that. None of the journals that I've ever seen or used have a thing that helps you finish or even encourages you to finish. They kind of just like set you out and they're like, you started, so you should be good to finish. But we had such a compelling reason to make kind of a landing pad for your goal, like to make you feel good about crossing the finish line, about completing the journal, whether it took you 3 months or like an entire year. We wanted to have outro content. And here's the bumper sticker. It's because we're a story company and every good story deserves a good ending. So we wanted people to kind of be able to land the journal. So there's some outro questions that help to kind of tie up in like a nice bow, kind of encapsulate this whole journal and make it sort of a story of that time of your life. And then part of that outro content and it's also part of the diploma. You actually sign your name and you sign the date. So you have like a contract at the beginning with yourself that you start your goal on, and at the end you kind of sign off on it. So it's like you kind of like complete this like stint at the Astoria Magic Academy was kind of the feel. So hopefully it comes across that way.
Yeah. And I think like as far as you did a great job explaining that. That was like a comprehensive upgrade.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
List. But I think the coolest thing is that if we had secret sauce, it's not secret. It's like if our sauce, we'll tell you the ingredients right now, is that the changing of each day is intrinsically more interesting to continue to open up your journal based off the fact that you get more and more involved in the story.
Yeah.
So that's one reason. That's one thing that's going to help you finish your story, right?
Right.
It's going to motivate you to open that up the next page, even if you just write down the date and what you want to eat today or something.
Sorry.
You.
I was just going to say, so this has already kind of happened a little bit as the more journals that go out in the world, the more heroes are working on their quest, the more times you get people that are like on the same page as the other person.
Yeah.
It's like, so we'll be like in a live stream and I'll be like, we'll be live journaling. We do that on Saturdays. We'll just fill out our journals for the first part of the live stream. And people are like, I'm on that page too. And the only way to know is what the quote is. That's the only way to know right now. But because this journal is distinct on every single page, it'll just be easier to identify, when it's like, oh, like that's the page where like the cauldron blows up and Yu's face. I'm on that page too. Or like I was on that page yesterday. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of fun for people to all be kind of moving through the journal together. And I mean, if we deliver them all at the same time, hopefully there's like going to be a large chunk of heroes that are all kind of doing it together.
Yeah.
Which I think would be so cool. So yeah, just a small little detail.
Yeah. And the other thing I'm really excited about is the different lengths of acts, because that's how a lot of stories are, right? You have like an intro,
Yeah.
then you have like the meat.
Yeah, your act 2 is typically the longest.
Then you have your conclusion, and it wasn't possible unless we did the 7-day reflections, because it would have been such a weird amount of time to go without these like major reflections.
Yeah.
And so I think the more that you check in with someone, the more you're able to actually tell a real story.
Yeah.
Because before we had like this, I mean, I think the current journal is, I'm a big fan of it as well.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about the fact that we get to check in with someone more, and we get to actually include more storytelling elements.
Yeah.
And it's not intrusive. We're not trying to tell the story for you. We give you more opportunities to tell the story of what's going on in that stage of your life, which I think is really important.
Yeah, I think so too. It's like one of the goals that I think that we are still trying to figure out how we can do the best is to encapsulate the story. I think we've done a good job of helping people organize their day and like, determine their allies and threats and stuff. And that's really positive and kind of imaginative and helpful for people. But I do want to start to see more posts and more stories of people being like, I will forever have this journal on my shelf. Or like, I pulled the journal off the shelf this weekend. I haven't touched it, in a year. I forgot how far I've come. And it's really encouraging to see how down I was or how hard this thing was, and I completed it. And it's encouraging. And, I'm excited for that. We're not old enough yet to like kind of have those stories. But I really want to create good reflection experiences for people to where they're excited to go back and open up their journal. That's kind of like a time capsule. So
cool.
Yeah.
Well, just like an overview, I guess a little post podcast table of contents. Yep. We talked about, what was the first thing we talked about? We talked about
Kickstarter coming up
and how we're happily embarrassed of our first Kickstarter.
Yep.
And then we talked about personas.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We talked about the voice of the hero's journal and how it always will go to the aid of other heroes, of all heroes.
Oh yeah. We talked about the product.
Then we talked about the product upgrades.
Yeah. Well, this is it. I mean, this is the last. It's the last podcast before our Kickstarter is live. I mean, it's very possible that after this one, we have a bunch of new people watching the podcast and listening to the podcast. So if you have been listening to this, thank you.
Yeah.
We actually just hit 500 downloads.
Huge.
On our podcast, which is really exciting. That's separate from YouTube views and like comments and things like that. That's just on like Spotify and Apple and Google and all that stuff. So, we started this podcast thing just because I think we felt like we needed an outlet to talk about the business and
to bring people into what we're thinking and why we're doing the things the way we're doing them.
Yeah, it's just a different way to connect with heroes. And so I don't know. I guess I just want to say, if you've been listening, thank you so much. Like, yeah, I mean, we're not making any money or anything on this podcast. We do it just simply because we want to make more content for everyone. But getting 500 downloads was like something I was really proud of. Yeah. There was a time in the business where we tried really hard to make a podcast, and I would have killed to have 500 downloads.
It's true.
And right now it feels easy and feels nice. People are really, really kind and responsive to the podcasts. And I'm excited to have it continue to grow and kind of become its own little thing, to have its own identity.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and leave a comment for the pack on Kickstarter that you're most excited to see.
Ooh, yeah.
And the one that you're most excited to get, because we love having a little call and response at the end of these podcasts. So if you haven't seen it yet, we have sent out emails with the breakdown. But yeah, so let us know which pack you're most excited about. If you're excited about gray or blue, or if you're excited about the pins or stickers.
Which tier is going to be yours? Like, which one are you going to back?
So
got to know.
But until then, happy questing.
Yeah, happy questing, guys. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.